Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. Today we're going to be looking at serial killers, and in particular a handful of books that I enjoy that have some serious serial killers in them. And also at the end I'm just going to talk about 2 or 3 books that I'm planning to read this year that I'm surprised I've never got to. They're mostly thrillers, but apparently they're really good serial books in their own right. So stay tuned. Okay everyone, before we begin, I'm not going to talk too much about the stories or the plot, because I have spoken about these books already, maybe not all of them, but we're going to focus rather on the serial killers that make these stories. We're going to start off with the best serial killer of all, probably the most famous fictional serial killer, and that is Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter, the doctor, the psychiatrist. And yeah, these are phenomenal books. I've got The Silence of the Lambs, I've got Red Dragon, as well as a great hardcover copy of Hannibal. Now, I would say this is not as good as the other two. This is kind of the origin stories, I think so. Oh, baby?
Yes.
It's like the first one,
yes.
yeah. But I really enjoy Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs. Okay, I think that in The Silence of the Lambs, this is one of the rare occasions where the film adaptation is better than a book. Now, it's not to say the book isn't brilliant, I think it really is, but I just loved Anthony Hopkins and his display as Hannibal the Cannibal. I think it was just so absolutely chilling and jaw-dropping, the way that he did it. Even though he had such a limited time on screen, I think he won Oscars for that performance. I'm pretty sure he did. One thing about the book though is it adds a lot more detail. You get a deeper characterization, you get to know the characters better, sort of background. So in that way it is better. But yeah, just absolutely love that movie. And I found out a couple of interesting facts about the 2 main serial killers in this book. First of all, that Hannibal the Cannibal was actually Thomas Harris actually used to be he used to be a journalist, and he went to Mexico, and Hannibal Lecter, the character, was inspired by a Mexican doctor jailed for murdering his lover. And this is someone that the author actually spoke to, and he mirrored him with Hannibal Lecter because of the way that this Mexican doctor, the way he behaved. He was very polite. He had all the mannerisms that Hannibal Lecter does, and of course he's a doctor as well. So that's just an interesting piece of information. The second one is that the delightful Buffalo Bill was inspired by 3 different serial killers in real life. The first being Ed Gein, who skinned his victims. Actually used to skin corpses. I think he used to actually go grave robbing, Gary Heidnik, who used to trap victims in a special made basement of his own, and also Ted Bundy, who used to lure victims with a fake cast on his arm, pretending that he was injured. So if you've seen the movie or read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Not really spoilers. Okay everyone, before I carry on, if I seem a little bit off today, we've had a rough, horrible couple of days. My wife really hurt her back. She's going back to the doctor tomorrow. She's on heavy pain tablets, so it's not been pleasant. I'll have to look after her a little bit, nurse her, but also yeah, it's just not been pleasant. So please understand, I'm doing my best. Okay, the next book we're going to talk about is Heartsick by Chelsea Cain. Now, this is first part of a series, and it also contains a very, very hectic serial killer. And this happens to be a very beautiful woman who apparently has up to 200 victims. I think I read somewhere in the book. And a lot of those victims weren't killed by her. Because she is so beautiful, she basically gets the men to do the work for her. Not all the time. She just has this, she absolutely loves to administer pain and suffering on other people, men, women and children. But what's similar about this book to Silence of the Lambs is that the two most chilling serial killers are behind bars, and at the same time the story is taking place, there's another serial killer on the lodge. But what's interesting is that almost all the attention should be, for me, all my attention is on this woman. And I would have preferred the book to maybe have more of her in it, although this is part of a series. Yeah, highly recommend it. That is Heartsick. Okay, something a little bit different. We got Ed McBain, Axe. Now, I've been reading the series in order, but I read this a long time ago. This is the first book by him I read. This is the 87th Precinct series. And yeah, for me this was the most gruesome one that I remember. With the axe killer on the loose. And you don't really, it's more murder mystery. It's more about police procedural, as all these books in the series, very long series are. But yeah, it's fun. And yeah, just pick up the series, give it a go. That is Axe by Ed McBain. Okay, next up we got the Michael Slade XXX series. Basically Ghoul, which I've read, which I'm going to talk about. This is a stunning cover as well. And Headhunter, which I've also read, which I haven't actually spoken about. Not quite as good as Ghoul, but very gruesome still. These books are gruesome. They are dark. They're not for the faint of heart. Just look at the cover. And then we got one I haven't got to yet, and that is Ripper. Now the interesting thing about Michael Slade is that he's actually more than one person. He's a group of Canadian lawyers who specialize in kind of forensics and serial killers, and the books go into a hell of a lot of detail about murders and taking place and going into forensics and all that. And most of the ones that I've read are very detailed in plot and in structure. But I really just want to focus on the one serial killer that you find in this particular book, Ghoul. And I just want to read what Goodreads has to say about him. Dressed in a cape and top hat, with a bone-white face and madman's eyes, the ghoul crawls from the London sewers to kill bloodily, perversely, inexplicably. Now I remember all the best parts of this book, because there's all sorts of other things. There's a rock band called Ghoul in Canada. There's all sorts of other things going on in this book. But I think the one thing that really attracted me was this serial killer. It is sick, it is bloody, and it's very twisted. And just the idea that he's living in these sewers and he's hunting ground, and it is terrifying. I really enjoyed this book, highly recommend it. And in fact, I spoke about it somewhere at the beginning of the year, of last year, and it's in one of my videos that is very, very popular. Underappreciated horror, which I'll link at the end of the video. So do yourselves a favor and go and check out on Ghoul if you want a more detailed review. Okay, and now for the final book that I've read. And yes, I have mentioned this book a number of times, but this has to be probably my second favorite serial killer in fiction of all time, after Hannibal the Cannibal. And that is Intensity. And you've got this character who is absolutely terrifying, and his name is Edler Voss. He has no remorse, he feels nothing, he just wants to live with intensity. He wants to basically suck the marrow out of life and everyone else's lives. Doesn't matter, even pain gives him pleasure, because he just wants to feel. And he comes across as a perfect sociopath, because he seems like a normal person, but inside he's just an absolute animal. And he devises constantly new ways to hurt people. And this is a real good thriller, horror thriller, a kind of cat and mouse game. I really love this book, and I think it's highly underrated with Dean Koontz fans. I don't know, there was something about this book that just shook me. And I just want to read one little paragraph from the book. Intensity. He believes in living with intensity. Sitting at the steering wheel, he closes his eyes and massages the back of his neck. He isn't trying to get rid of the pain. It came on its own, and it will leave him naturally in time. He never takes Tylenol and other crap like that. What he's trying to do is enjoy the pain as fully as possible. With his fingertips he finds an especially sore spot just to the left of the third cervical vertebra, and he presses on it until the pain causes faint sprays of twinkly light, white and grey lights in the blackness behind his eyelids, like distant fireworks in a world without colour. Very nice. This guy is absolutely insane, and probably the most perfect example of a sociopath that I've ever read about, and I really highly recommend you give this book a go. It's kind of pretty well loved on Goodreads, but I've heard some people say it's crap and it's badly written and it's Dean Koontz. I think this book is more unlike Dean Koontz than his other books. There's none of the other stuff that you find over and over again. And even dogs, oh be warned, the way dogs are treated in this book is not all kind and happy. So yeah, that's Intensity. Very dark book. Okay everyone, so I'm going to finish off with just showing a couple of books that I'm dying to get to. Mostly thriller writers, but I heard the horror in these books is very real as well with the serial killers. First of all, The Snowman by Joe Nesbo. I think there's another one. Maybe tell me in the comments down below. Something about, oh, Birdman. I haven't got that yet. I'm looking for it. But I want to read this author. Apparently he's very, very thrilling. Next up we got a book that I cannot believe I have not read this book yet. Even my family have read this book. I haven't got to this yet. And that is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I haven't even seen the movie. I haven't read the book. So yeah, I heard it is absolutely brilliant. Please let me know in the comments down below whether you would recommend it, and then I'll make it a priority in the next couple of months. That is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And lastly, no, there's two more. Chelsea Cain's Sweetheart. This is a follow-up to the book I was talking about earlier. Oh, that serial killer, the female, gorgeous female serial killer. Obviously not going to tell you about it because it's a sequel. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to the rest of the series at some stage. And finally, we got The Shining Girls by Lauren Beers, a South African author. And yeah, I've heard a lot about this. I heard it's brilliant. And apparently the serial killer is like a time traveler. And there's all sorts of interesting things about this book. So yeah, I'm going to get to this one day. That's The Shining Girls. Okay everyone, that's me today. Once again, I'm sorry if I look a little bit off. Yeah, I'm not feeling so great today. Yeah, but everything will get better. This will pass. But thanks for watching. Please leave a comment in the spaces down below. Take care of yourselves. Keep those pages turning. And cheers.